Hi, this is 100 in 100, where we are reviewing 100 VR games in 100 days. Today we are looking at Throw Anything VR, where you can throw anything. Throw Anything VR is a fun game where you throw anything, including people. Your job is to protect the people behind you, and you do so by throwing objects. You're protecting them from oncoming zombies. Now, this is a low poly game, and it is something that is kind of a tongue-in-cheek, fun little activity, if you will. But Throw Anything VR is something that you'll probably want to go try out if you get it from the right place. In our VR Gear game reviews, we like to cover as many aspects of the game as possible so that you can make an informed decision before you try or buy one of these VR titles. Throw Anything VR is a fun one, and we're excited to jump in and share more about it with you today. First, let's talk about getting up and running with Throw Anything VR. This game is available on just about all of the different VR stores. It's available on Viveport. It's available in the PSVR store. It is not, however, available on the Oculus store, but you can play it on your Oculus Rift if you buy it through the Steam store. So you're still able to play it on Oculus, just you can't get it from the Oculus store. The download file for this game is about 1 gigabyte in size. It will take a couple of minutes to download, and you should be able to install automatically and be ready to get into gameplay right after that. Throw Anything VR is a defend the tower type video game where your job is to protect people or the place where you're located and protect it from zombies who are coming at you from the ground, crawling up the side of the building that you're standing inside of. In one of the first early levels of the game, your job is to defend your roommate. You can, however, true to the name of the game, throw anything, and that includes your roommate. So you can throw your roommate out the building window and he will fall not so gracefully to the ground. He will reappear in the room. He'll have some injuries on him, like a broken arm or leg, but he's still there. And your job remains defend the castle. Fight off the zombies by throwing whatever it is in your apartment that you can find at those zombies to knock them back down to the ground. You'll play Throw Anything VR from the first person perspective, and in the game mode, you'll be able to see only your hands and whatever objects your hands are picking up. There is no requirement that you be strong enough to pick up something like a bookshelf or a coffee table. You're able to do so pretty easily with one hand and throw that at the oncoming zombie. But you will be playing this from the first person perspective. You will not see anything but your hands in the world. And sometimes you'll feel like you're floating or your height is not necessarily accurately captured relative to the virtual world that you're in. Be aware of that. We played this game from a sitting position because everything is coming toward you, but you could do it from a standing position. We didn't make any adjustments to the player height in the game. Maybe that would help with your perspective, but this game you'll see only your hands. For the story and theme in this game, we have a fun little piece of explainer text that comes with the game and the descriptions as you download it from the Viveport Infinity store. It says, "The mysterious scientist X has decided to play God, conducting secret, forbidden experiments in secluded laboratories throughout the world, to conquer whole world by spreading zombie virus using ubiquitous cube. However, 5 scientists who oppose X's terrible plan divide ubiquitous cube into 5 pieces and hid throughout the world, and enraged mystery scientist X invades the world using zombies to find cube. The world is quickly being overrun by these undead abominations, turning everyday peace into a never-ending cycle of pain and suffering. Get secret missions from secret delivery agent and collect cubes to save the world from zombie horde." This story is introduced to you as a player when you first jump into the game, and your job from that point forward is to help fight off the zombie horde and find these cubes. For the controls in this game, we have a very simple setup, which we really like, and it was appropriate for this type of gameplay. To grab items, you simply reach out toward it and pull the trigger, and your hands will hold on to them until you pull back and throw, and you, of course, need to release the trigger when you throw. The item will then go flying out of your hand. This allows you to throw virtually anything. The controls were really easy to learn, very intuitive, and they're absolutely appropriate for this type of gameplay. The music and sound in this game was playful. It was helpful to the animated environment that you were playing in. You could hear the impact of the objects that you were throwing as they would hit the zombies. You could also hear your roommate as they scurried around the apartment trying to tell you things or panicking because of different things that would occur during the game. You would also hear the doorbell ring and packages would be delivered with items that you could then throw at zombies. It was strange, however, that we didn't really hear oncoming zombies and we only heard sound coming from the zombies once they had been hit with an object. It would have been nice to have a little bit more spatial awareness and some sound coming from the direction where zombies were coming, but that's not what the game had. So the only sound that zombies made were once they were hit by objects. For player movement in this game, there wasn't a lot of need to walk around very much, but the game can be played from a standing, sitting, or from a room scale position. If you decide to play this game from a sitting position, the controls allow you to reach out and point at the object that you would like to pick up, and it will retrieve it, almost like a fishing pole. It will bring it towards you, and then now you can hold on to it in your hand and throw it like you would any other object that you had picked up that was nearby. So as far as movement goes, you didn't have to do much of it. For motion sickness in this game, you're definitely not going to feel very much of it. There are elements that could make you feel a little bit uneasy, but that is more of your sensitivity to heights. If you look out the apartment window and you don't like looking far down below you, that is something that you need to be aware of, that this game does have that. But as far as motion sickness, because of a mismatch between your visual cues in the virtual world and your physical cues in the real world, there isn't very much of that at all. Your movement in VR is very closely matched to your movement in the real world. One part of the game that became somewhat irritating, not necessarily a motion sickness element, but when the zombies got close, they would go through your body. And that was kind of strange because then you'd be seeing the world through a three-dimensional hollow zombie, and overlay of graphics really was kind of just unpleasant overall, but it didn't cause motion sickness, it just caused disorientation. For environment and immersion, this game is really quite interesting, and we're surprised at how much we enjoyed being in this environment, even though it was a low poly graphics game where there's just not a lot of detail there. But because of the interaction model, we really felt like it was a fun place to be. The environment was somewhat satisfying. There is definitely some area for improvement, and that has a lot to do with the sound category. The objects, as you interacted with them and broke them and threw them, those did make sound. But the other big character in this game, other than the anything that you can throw, are the zombies that you're throwing things at. And we really wish that that had gotten more attention from the developers, the entire experience around hearing the zombies as they are approaching. Overall, as we were interacting with the world and throwing items and picking them up and defending against the zombies, we really were immersed in this game. We wanted to stay in and keep fighting off the zombies. All right, so let's talk about the overall scorecard for Throw Anything VR, starting with theme and story. For theme and story, we are giving this game a 6 out of 10. Starting out in the game, there was definitely a story that you were told and you were playing through it, but that story was quickly forgotten when you were in the environment. So a 6 out of 10 for story and theme. For the controls in this game, we're giving a 7 out of 10. There were very few controls that were needed to play this game, and we really liked that. In the real world, when you're interacting with objects and items that you would like to throw, there's not a lot to it. And in this game, they respected that. There wasn't much to picking up, holding on to, and throwing items. And so a single button game, a 7 out of 10 for controls in this game. For music and sound, we're giving this game a 5 out of 10. The sound that was used in the game was nice and it was appropriate, but there was some areas where sound was lacking, and so there's some points deducted there. Specifically, the sounds the zombies didn't make when they were approaching. It would have been nice to have a little bit more audio experience around the zombies as they were coming toward you. So a 5 out of 10 for music and sound. For player movement, we're giving this game a 7 out of 10. This game did a really great job with accounting for room scale, standing, or sitting gameplay. And this was mostly due to the control mechanism that allowed you to grab objects that were outside of your reach by summoning them. But some of the other player movement things were disorienting, and that had to do with your player positioning in the virtual world didn't quite match your height in the real world. And so 7 out of 10 for player movement. For motion sickness, we're giving this game a high score of 9 out of 10. This has to do with the game doing a great job of mapping the virtual movement to your physical movement and avoiding all the different ways that people can get motion sick in VR. This game is a great game for beginners or people who are new to VR that you don't want to scare away with some highly intense game that will make them motion sick. So a 9 out of 10 for motion sickness in this game. For environment and immersion, we're giving this game a 6 out of 10. We definitely felt involved in the world where we were playing. It was great to pick things up and throw them or break items, and we felt really part of the environment. The immersion was broken by a degree because of the lack of audio that was supposed to be coming from the zombies. The actual point of the game is to defend the castle, and that was where the audio was lacking, and that kind of broke the immersion and made the experience less than what it could have been. So a 6 out of 10 for environment and immersion. The overall score is a very good 6.6 out of 10. This game is a lot of fun, and we think that you should go try this one out. Throw Anything VR is a great way for people who are new to VR to learn how to interact in a virtual space and throw virtually anything. This has been 100 in 100, where we are reviewing 100 VR games in 100 days. Click the subscribe button and hit the notification bell so that you can get notified when we release another VR Gear game review tomorrow. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next one.